be talking you through how to construct, paint, and do everything with the Sanderson Sister sign. So the first thing you should do is you need to lay out all your wood pieces, make sure everything's there, and make sure everything is the right way. It'll just be easier when you paint it. Some tips: the broom could either go on the top or the bottom. I like it on the top, so I'm going to put it on the top just because I have more room. So I have the three witches, Mary, Winifred, and Sarah, I think her name is, at the end, played by Sarah Jessica Parker. Just make sure all your pieces are the right way. So you could see the Mary one, the scallop, she has the scallop dress. So it's going to go on the left. All your pieces should line up pretty well. She has the mouth that looks like she's biting her lip, and then the crazy little hair. Winifred has the collared dress and with the curly red hair, and then Sarah has the long blonde hair, and then the shirt that she's kind of easy to do because she kind of fits together perfectly like a piece. And don't forget the piece of dress that's right there. All right. So how we're going to do it is we're going to paint our board, then we'll paint our broom, and then we'll go witch by witch. So once you have everything set up, I would take a picture just so you know how it goes, and then you should make like 3 little piles. And if you have like the teeth for the Mary, just keep that because you could paint that white too. But if you don't have them, or you don't want to deal with little pieces, don't. So just make 3 little piles for each, one for each witch, and then set them aside. And what we're going to paint first is the board, and then we'll do our broom. Alright, so step 1 is to paint our board. So you should have your kit and all the paints in your kit. So you have 4 paints plus a palette of a couple of 8 paints. The first paint and first brush we're going to use, you're going to need a sponge brush, and then this tan color. This tan is actually a stain, and we're going to lightly stain our wood. It's just going to be a really light wood, so we don't even have to worry. It's just going to seal it a little bit, bring out some of the different textures in the wood. So you could open your stain, and then you're just going to, I'm holding my board horizontally, and then all you're going to do is go left to right and use that stain, and it's just going to change the color of the wood just slightly. Brings out any natural greens. So you're going to go left to right and your edges. Alright, so once you stain that whole board, you could set this aside to dry. We're not going to need it until we put it all back together again. Right, so next what I laid out is I laid out my first witch and my broom. So I'm going to paint my broom first because I didn't even wash my sponge brush, so you should have some water and some paper towels handy. I didn't even wash my sponge brush because what I'm going to do is in this palette, I'm just going to use my small brush and stir up that brown paint, and then dip the corner of your sponge brush in that brown paint and start painting that broom with that brown. And it's going to mix with that lighter brown. So everything's going to pretty much need 2 coats of paint. So that's why I work in a circuit. If you have other people helping you too, it's easy. It's a little easier because then you guys could take on multiple witches at the same time. Because as I go through it, everything's basically need 2 to 3 coats, and just allow everything to dry, and then we'll put it all together. And you could kind of pick the colors that you want. I'm dabbing it just to give it a little texture. You want to put a tiny bit of, I'm going to stir up this black. You want to put a tiny bit of black on your brush. You could add a little black and sponge it a little. I'm going to add some black in the handle. I'm just dabbing it just to add a little texture. All right, so once I have that done, I'm gonna set it aside, and I'm gonna start on my first witch. So when you do your witches, you're gonna need your small brush. And you could wash out that sponge brush too, because you could use that too, but you need to wash it out really well. All right, so the first thing, I'm gonna make her dress like a wine color almost. I'm gonna open all my paints though. So I am going to do a little color mixing. So on one of these lids that I just took off, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of red and then mix a tiny bit of black into it. And keep mixing a little black into it until you get like a dark, it almost looks purpley shade of red. So once I have that color, all I'm gonna do, but you could do any colors you want, I'm gonna paint it this color and alternating with red too. I'm gonna put some red on, then I'll take the darker, put some darker on. Once I do her dress, I'm going to move on to her hair, and her hair is just going to be black. Once I finish with the black, wash your brush out real well, because I'm going to move on to her, I'm going to try and do her little teeth. So I'm going to stir around that white and get her little teeth. Once I have the white, set it aside, and then I'm going to move on to wash and dry my brush and then do lips. And you might get a little dirty. That's why you have a couple of paper towels by you too. All right, so I'm gonna let this dry for just a few more seconds, and then I'm gonna do my second coat on everything. All right, so I put my second coats on everything. Everything looks pretty well covered. My broom is finished. You'll see there's like a little differentiation in color just because I like dabbed it. So I'm going to put that aside. My teeth and my lips are good, so I'm going to put that aside. Just be very careful with those little pieces. And then I'm just going to add a little detail to my hair. So I have my hair, and just to highlight how all the curves and the shape of it, I'm going to put a little bit of white paint on my brush, and just with white, you kind of go around the edge. It's going to mix with a little bit of that black to make like a gray. I'm just going around my edge a little. If you have to go dab back in, just make sure you wash your brush before you dab back in, because we don't want to mess up all that paint. It just will highlight the shape of her hair. And if you do a little too heavy, like this side's a little heavy, I'm going to put a little black on my brush, go over it a little bit. Alright, so while I have that black on my brush, I'm just going to add, I'm going to take a little bit of paint and just add a little black on my dress. It's like dry brushing, so you only take a little. I'm just going to put it on the edges a little. Alright, so then you have a little black streakage in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this witch dry, and I'm going to put all these pieces aside. You're going to need a lot of room for this project. Put all these pieces aside and get my next witch. Alright, so I have my other witch set apart, and now I have my last two witches. So for Winifred, I'm going to do green dress, orange hair, red lips, and also for for Sarah, I'm going to do red lips too. So I'm going to put the lips together over here. And then for Sarah, I'm going to do blonde hair and a light purple shirt. So I'm going to just start with my hair first. So she has nice blonde hair. So I'm just going to take yellow. And then as I'm painting the yellow, just mix a little bit of white in. Because yellow, the white is going to help the yellow cover the wood. And as you get to these teeny parts, they're just a little fragile. So you just have to watch out. So I'm doing hair, I'll do Winifred's too, because I don't even have to wash my brush because it's just orange. After I'm finished with that orange, wash my brush. Both sets of lips are going to be red. Green for Winifred's shirt or dress. So I'm going to do green. And then as I paint the green, make sure you mix that up. As I paint the green, I'm also going to add a teeny bit of black as I paint. Just the black gives it a little aged look, so it looks like it was they were resurrected, like in the movie. Sarah's dress, I'm going to make purple, and as I add purple, I'll add a little white into it. So after I have one coat on everything, I'm going to go back and add a second coat. 2 coats on everything. Now I'm just going to add a little detail. So with a clean sponge brush on her hair, I'm going to dip in a little bit of Winifred's hair. I'm going to dip in a little bit of red and a little orange, and I'm going to dab. And this is just going to give like illusion of texture. Just add a little red. If you find you have too much red, just dab a little orange on top. Right. So her hair is done. Now with our little brush, you could add some dry brush detail. So I'm just putting black on it, and I'm just putting some black streaks in Winifred's dress. Now you guys can get really creative, like all their dresses have laces and all that fun stuff. I am just keeping it simple and colorful. All right, so there's her dress. And then I'm just going to add a teeny bit of black to the purple as well. It's so little you could hardly see it. There we go. And then don't forget to paint that little piece of the dress. I forgot, so just do a little purple on it. Just do 2 coats so it matches the others. All right, so I'm gonna let everything dry, and then probably for a couple hours, then I'm gonna come back with some glue and put it all together. So we moved on to our glue step. Well, it's going to be the glue and a little glitter too. So I'm laid out all my pieces on the board. I have Winifred's hair is slightly a bit higher than everyone else's. Sarah's is kind of easy, it fits together. This one you could kind of move up and down. I like it right about there. Beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take each piece, flip it over, put a little glue, press it back down. After we glue everything, there's just a couple of details I like to add. I actually like to add the glue, I add the glitter after everything is down, just so the glitter takes a little while to dry, that's why pretty much. So I'm going to start gluing my pieces down. A little glue goes a long way. You could use any glue. I'm using a wood glue, but you could use Elmer's, you could use a glue stick. Elmer's glue wall works. This is what pretty much Elmer's glue wall is. It's pretty much the same thing. If you use school glue, sometimes school glue is a little runny, so I don't like, and it comes out with water, so I don't like to use that. but sometimes glue sticks work great too. If you have crazy glue, you could use crazy glue, but then you don't have that much time to move things a little. And this glue dries clear. Most glue dry clear. Gonna put her lip down. All the pieces glued down, and now we're going to add two little details. We're going to add a little mole on Mary the Witch, and we'll add some glitter. So I'm just going to take my smaller brush, and you take the back of the brush, and I'm going to dip the back of the brush in a little bit of black paint. I gotta put too much on, but only a little bit goes a long way. And all I'm going to do is right above the left side of her mouth, I am just going to put a little dot. She has a little mole. If you mess up on that little mole, just wipe it immediately with a wipe or a wet paper towel, and then you should be good. All right, so now is our fun part. So I like to add glitter after I glue everything down. And you could just add glitter in a few places. I'm gonna add glitter, I like the gold. I'm gonna add it on her dress, and just very carefully with your small brush. So the glitter is like a clear coat, and it takes a while to dry. That's why I usually like to do it while the glue is drying as well. As I'm doing it, I'm just making sure everything lines up. I'm going to put it on the other witch's dresses too. And you can really put it anywhere you want. You could use the clear glitter too. To your project, you could do whatever you want. Maybe we'll put a little glitter on the broom too, maybe just the broomstick. And you want to make sure all your paint is dry before you do the glitter. Beautiful. And maybe I'll take some of that clear. Maybe we could put some on Winifred too. Maybe her hair needs a little shimmer and shine. But you could pick and choose. You could put glitter in each of them. Glitter sometimes add a little pop to it. Makes things stand out. Beautiful. All right, so after everything you glitter and glue, you are finished with your sign. You just have to let it dry, and then you could hang it up wherever you'd like. So I hope you had fun with me making the Sanderson Sisters.